Alright, welcome back, Cosmic Campfire. Unfortunately, it seems like for this video, I'm going to be reading through the second half of Blood Whistle because I'd rather not leave it unfinished. Now, where we were at the end of the last part was that the narrator has found a spooky Mario ROM hack in which Mario is killed multiple times in increasingly detailed and gruesome ways. He's having weird dreams about it. It's there's no indication so far that the game is actually cursed. It seems like it's just some sort of weird ROM hack that somehow surpasses the limitations of the Nintendo Entertainment System. And I cannot take it seriously. I was laughing through a few parts of it that you really should not, or did not intend to make any laughter. But yeah, so I suppose we shall get into the next blog post. Let's hit that music once again, and here we go. Okay. Let the page reappear once again. There we go. June 10th, 2012. Campus Police gave me a visit today. Apparently one of you had reported my comments related to self-harm and claimed I was insane. As a result, I have eliminated all personal information from this blog. I located the person who reported me and banned him. I also have an IP tracker, so don't any of you try that. Speaking of followers, 50,000? I had never expected this page to accumulate this many active viewers. Wherever this popularity, or notoriety, came from, I am grateful. Now for today's gameplay. After today, I'll be lucky to finish the game. Princess Toadstool's letter appeared after the previous screen for World 3 faded out. She was squirming and shifting around. Bowser's hand covered her mouth and nose, but it was easy to see the fear in her eyes. They darted left and right in stark, true fear. Bowser continued to have that sadistic smile on his face as he struggled with her. After about a minute and a half, Peach began to change. Her eyes grew an ominous red as she pushed Bowser's arm away with inhuman strength. She cackled like... I'm not saying that. Blue veins bulging so noticeably that they were clearly visible through her white satin gloves. Bowser then began to cower in timidity. The text on the letter said only this: Blood Whistle, hear its cry. Peach! The letter scene was abruptly cut off and the World 4 level select map was brought into view. Goombas and Koopas of all sizes appeared furious and hungry as ever. This addition made sense. This was the giant tiny world. The shown enemies would be dimensioned as such. Normally green grass was withered and dead, the small patches of water were blood, Mario was still in the fireball fatigues that he donned in World 3. When compared to the other worlds, the map view for this one was vastly less disturbing. I would go so far as to call this tolerable. Mario moved into 4-1, into whatever nightmarish scenario the stage had to offer. The stage had the usual kinks of any level in the game. Sky was black, which made the white clouds vibrantly contrast. Reverse version of the ground level theme played once again. Wood still decaying, wasting away below Mario's feet. Pipes were fading and cracked. All the enemies had the same carnivorous looks of their inter-game counterparts. There was, oddly enough, a startling abundance of them. Koopas and Goombas dancing around in a ritualistic manner. Mario was visibly petrified as he tried to avoid them, my arrow keys keeping them inches away from his life. Amidst all of the din, there hovered a solitary power-up block. It was regular in appearance, nothing was outwardly off about this, which greatly surprised me. Not knowing what horrid item it contained, I bumped it in a blind vein. That maybe it could help me. You can most likely infer from the intonation I made in the preceding paragraph that I was completely mistaken. What appeared next is what I dreaded. That damn whistle. It was sitting there, blood washing over it as it rose from the yellow square. It sat there almost beckoning my name. With the imposing enemies, I had no other choice. I took the weapon from its place, fruitlessly hoping for the best, readily expecting the worst. The on-screen foes ceased all activity, their faces returned to a neutral, blank state. 5 minutes they stood in place like this, not moving a muscle. I jumped around and tried to kill them, to no avail. It's almost as if they were frozen within the confines of time itself. Then, as if for specifically them, all interstellar and physical continuity came to a careening halt. As if for... Then they began to move. After the first couple had did it, I realized what truly was going on. This was a... Okay, they're all ending their own games. Most of them jumped to the nearest hole, but others performed incredible feats of acrobatics and medical possibility. I don't want to read this part, but basically a bunch of enemies violently and graphically destroy themselves, with Mario walking through the main remains, horrified with tears streaming on his face throughout. Random deep bassy tones played with nothing else to go. Bassy. Not bassy. Bass isn't bass a fish. Realistic squishy sounds were emitted every time Mario step fired through the level. The whistle faded into view and followed Mario a few inches above his head like a pestilential virus. After he cleared the force, Mario gets stabbed by the whistle again as he goes to World 5. The game has a habit of putting me where it needs me to be, so I closed the window without saving. Witnessing all of that death really racked my nerves. Sure, it might be a game, but with the things this game has had to present to me, I'm starting to lose my perception of reality. I'm starting to lose the perception of my reality by reading this story. Don't worry, I'm fine, it's just... I should not have read this. Oh, this would have been so much better if I had a co-host to joke around with. Okay. Narrator is starting to wonder to myself what is real and what is inside the computer. These two things are quickly fusing into one. The lines, they're blurring. Pretty soon the days will start fading together, and by then I have lost all sense of reality. I hope to see you all tomorrow. I don't know how much longer I can put up with this game. No, it's not a game. I couldn't tell you what this is. June 11th, 2012. The day being the day... Hold on a second. Yeah, that's... D-Day was June 6th, wasn't it? This guy referencing... I'm going to just assume that the, given how the character has been, I'm just going to assume that the character got it wrong, and it's like a little bit of character building, rather than the author not bothering to look up the date of a historical thing. Anyway, because I'm fighting one hell of a war against this game, and losing one at that. At least there are no more mishaps with you all so far, which puts me at rest. As of today's gameplay, I fear for my own life. I feel as if something is coming after me, lurking, seeking me out as to make immediate my demise. Never before has anything like this ever happened. Never before has anything electronic made me truly afraid, truly scared. I most likely will get no sleep tonight. Nothing in particular occurred, it's just, you'll find out below. I was in the middle of the cloud portion of World 5. The sky theme played, except it was drastically slow. Its demonic whispers were clearly audible. And the whispers were almost the same as the ones I heard back in World 2. Mario was outfitted with the Tanuki suit, which naturally suited the environment. There was nothing there except for two things, a red dot and a card game. Card game icon looks similar enough to its regular game clone, except the spades rolled across a red background instead of a blue one. For whatever reason, I was allowed to choose which path to take. I chose to do the card game, hoping it would serve as some sort of reprieve from all the madness. That was not the right choice. Toad didn't explain the rules of the game like normal. Instead, I was plunged into the rolling slots. Inside the slots of the risky scenario, Toad was in a guillotine. He looked at the camera with timid, teary eyes, rigorously shaking his head, shook his hands in a futile effort to free himself from his appalling apparatus. But nothing. Okay, appalling apparatus is a good... Oh, that actually kind of That actually sounds kind of good. I'm gonna write down appalling apparatus. I might use that if I write something myself. That actually sounds okay. Probably won't, but okay. Appalling apparatus is the one good thing so far, but nothing came of it. The entire picture engulfed me so much I didn't even notice the slots. I cautiously pressed them, trying the best I could to line them up given the stress of the situation. I failed and had to pay the personal price. The blade fell with breathtaking speed. Toad was beheaded right there and then. His head did a couple of spins in the air before landing in a conveniently placed nearby basket. Okay, blah 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 blood, blah 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 blood. Blood whistle came down and struck his torso. The scene faded out and went back to the map. I was moved to the only remaining destination in World 5. Violet lightning streaks across the licorice black sky. Grey clouds and Mario were the only other consistently visible things. As far as everything goes, silhouettes of winged demons flew and danced in the background. I tried turning into the stone structure that the Tanuki suit is so famous for, but it failed. No music played at all, none at all. The demons would be heard whispering in a variety of languages. Spanish, German, Latin were the most prevalent ones. A primal fear of the unknown gripped me as I blindly navigated the level. Judging by the look on Mario's face, it plagued him also. This stemmed from my childhood, which made it all the worse. I not only felt like Mario was in danger, I felt like my livelihood and well-being were in danger. At that moment, one of the demons swooped down. I would say the most accurate way to describe this creature would be a miniature Cthulhu. Its claws plucked out of... Its claws... Okay, so Mario loses his eyes and screams out. But moves on. He has no expression because he knows he is... Okay. Because he... Wow, I really am just skipping over all this stuff, aren't I? Like, I don't see the point in reading these relatively detailed descriptions of Mario characters getting tortured. Like, I know I'm supposed to be reading the story, but like... Do I have to? The only reason I'm making this episode is because I started it. Anyway, where were we? Yes, the second demon comes. It was identical in appearance to the first, swooped down with its grim black bat wings and did its portion of the damage. After it was said and done, the thing... Okay, so Mario loses his arms, stops dead in his tracks, and started sobbing, knowing the worst was yet to come. I felt so sorry for him that the word escaped me. He continued with a morose look. His normal walk slowed to a shuffle. The final solitary spectre came down. Okay, so Mario loses his legs and is just sitting there. He knew the end was near. He turned to me and choked out this. I'm sorry you had to witness this. Everything. Those were his last spoken words on World 5 before a gaggle of hell's minions descended at... Okay. Yeah, so the demons just sort of kill Mario again. Consider it sheer luck if I make another post tomorrow. If I do, it may be my last. June 12th, 2012. I am starting not to care anymore. I am in the throes of such a severe depression, it's all starting to fade away. Everything. School, friends, family. It's safe to say this game is single-handedly ruining my... Such sadness has never become me ever before in my life. My grandfather died when I was young, but that didn't close to equate to what I'm feeling now. The direct result of the level that I played today, which I'll now get into. World 6 appeared. Ice was everywhere. This is the one part that correlated to the unaltered version. Nothing else did. Ice was none other than frozen realistic. What? Crystalline... Okay, so basically the entire level is blood, and there is only one level that Mario can go into. Okay. Pure sable white was the only thing that constituted of the backdrop. Blocks of blood ice served as a slippery ground. Mario slid along as I controlled. He appeared happy. Overjoyed might be more accurate. Here he has nothing to deal with, just him and the open space. 5 minutes passed, then 10. All the way through, Mario was happy as I let him run around and fly. He had regained the raccoon tail. It seemed like he had all the time in the world. Clock ticked and ticked and all seemed right in the game, making my way through the level. I found out it had no end. Time, oddly enough, would turn out to be the ultimate enemy. At the 20-minute mark, a tempest began to pick up. A flurry of snow and wind ensnared Mario, and he then began to curl his tail. His teeth chattered and his body shook. He soon had to sit down. Mario and I soon figured out how the game planned to snuff him out this time, with ice and time. He sat and tried to feed and heat himself. This needlessly was less than a feeble attempt. Nothing but the creepy bass beats from World 5 played. Mario's skins began to turn a light blue. He sat and brooded in the icy cold. It was then that the utmost feeling of sadness encapsulated me. I couldn't fathom my sympathy. I couldn't begin to describe how bad I felt. The fact that his death is absolutely inevitable. Nothing could just stop it. Just simply watching shock and dejected awe. Frostbite took his hands. 10 minutes later, Mario was dead. Frozen block in the middle of a winter wilderness. I felt abandoned and alone, just like Mario sitting in the middle of that ice field. I felt as if no one would save me from the torture of this game. And I feel like no one will save me from the torture of this story. The blood whistle came down, okay, so the blood whistle stabs the ice. Narrator closes the emulator window and ends the game. He will make himself play tomorrow. He will play the last time tomorrow, and the blog will... The blog will hopefully live on in my memory, so my tribulation can be seen by the world. Okay. June 13th, 2012. It is ironic indeed that today is June the 13th. The unlucky number, the unlucky day. I suppose today isn't completely horrible. Today is the last day I had to play this wretched game. This horrifyingly absurd remake of what I used to see as a wonderful game will soon be out of my life. Along with everything else. This being the last post, I suppose I can finally... Okay, well, I suppose we knew from the fact that the very beginning of the story in the first part spoiled the ending that narrator, how do I say this in a YouTube-friendly way? Well, I suppose if this is Super Mario, ends his game. This game has caused me sorrow on such an ineffable level there is no other option. Life will be the same. Mum and Dad, I love you. Michael and Kelsey, you guys be good. Listen to Mum and Dad, they have a lot of valuable lessons to teach you. Lessons I learned but can now never apply again. Now for what you 75,000 followers read this post for. The rest of the game. Hell itself is what the game brought me to. I suppose this was intentioned to convey World 8. No, not hell. Worse than hell. Bodies were... Wait a minute, what happened to World 7? If this is World 8, did he just skip World 7? Bodies were chained up in the background enduring a myriad of tortures. The only pain wasn't strictly felt from injuries though. Coughs, dying wheezes and vomiting, the background reeked of pestilence and suffering. Fires emblazoned certain people as well. The flames had an actual burning quality to them, not like regular 8-bit fire. Flesh, eyes and other internal organs and tissue constituted the walls and the ground. If the hell I'm going to exists, it looks something like this. Mario stood before a possessed Princess Toadstool. Her dress was ripped in several places and splattered with... Okay, more blood, of course. Her eyes gleamed red, the flames casting an evilly maniacal allure to her appearance. Bowser and his 6 sons were tied to wooden poles with terrified looks on their faces. Wendy, for some reason, didn't appear anywhere in this game. In one hand, Peach brandished a sizable dagger. In the other, the blood whistle. He walked over to Bowser and looked into his eyes. What do you mean technical limitations? You've been talking so much through the story about this game breaking the limitations of the system. Why is it only now that technical limitations slightly hindered the interpretation of what events passed? But it was easy enough to understand what was going on. Through his gag, Bowser pleaded with her not to harm him. He brought the knife up close and he froze up. He was paralyzed with fear. Her mouth got close to his ear and text rolled along the bottom of the screen, conveying the text of what played out given the sound limitations. This is what enabled Mario to speak in the past. Shh, she whispered. Bowser's innards spilled onto the floor in a great heap. He let out a monstrous 8-bit roar of pain as this happened. Peach laughed, her red eyes reflecting whatever evil had possessed her. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so she kills the Koopalings and Mario looks on in horror. as Peach, whom he loved, kills them all. Okay. His face soon contorted into one of loathing. He'd come all this way to find out the girl he wanted to save had been taken over by an extraterrestrial evil that would not only haunt Mario but the player as well. The sort of evil doesn't go away when you turn off the game. The kind of dark force that follows you to your bed chambers and steals your soul? Princess Toadstool paused for... I'm turning the whimsical music off. I no more whimsical music. No. Thank you for understanding. Ahem. Hey there, Mario, she said as she toyed with the knife. They got a little sharp with me, so I pushed them over the edge. I tried to move Mario, but nothing happened. He stood there, afraid of what she would do. He brutally slashed open his... Okay, so Peach kills Mario with the knife and literally pours salt on his wounds, making him scream. Princess Peach used to know was long gone. The power of the blood whistle consumed that girl and made way for me. And speaking of which, she continued as she produced the blood whistle. Here it is. Hear its cry. With a mocking kiss on the cheek, she began to play Mario the perverse song of the blood whistle. His notes rotted away the last reserve of good in me. He was heaved by an invisible force into the flames. He cried out as they consumed him. Peach chucks the whistle, making it strike him. Okay, so again, Mario gets stabbed in the heart. He continued to wallow in utter anguish as she walked away. As she laughed, he looked into my eyes and bore me the parting message via the text at the bottom of the screen. Oh, this is Mario, okay. Do not let your life be as painful as mine was. I do not hold reservations against you, as you tried your best to keep me alive. I commend you for that. Goodbye, Bradley, and good luck. The tune of the blood whistle continued to play as the screen panned out of Mario's hell. How he knew my name as Bradley continues to befuddle me. How could he have such depth, such personality? I don't know whether this is the result of the game being as haunted as it truly is, or the fact that someone's could have been captured inside of this ROM. Whatever the reason of this, of everything that has come to pass with this abomination, I am glad it's finally done. I have made all my goodbyes at the beginning of this post. I hope one of you takes time to save this blog, or at the very least show the world the true hell I have put myself through. I sure hope the demented creator of this game isn't festering in the same hell I'm headed to. Goodbye, everyone. Aftermath. This blog was the last recorded statement of Bradley before his death. I'm not reading that part, but basically it reveals that he, the narrator character Bradley dies in a similar method as to the things that keep happening to Mario in the story. Well, yeah, no. That was just, I don't have the words to describe it. I was able to have a lot more fun with the other stories, although I have to admit getting to say things like that in my Super Mario voice was kind of funny. Yeah, I don't really... I suppose my thoughts on this one were... Okay, if nothing else, I have to admit that the idea of an evil possessed whistle, not that they did something especially good with it in this episode, this story, but the idea of a spooky Mario game with an evil version of the warp whistle could have potential. I like the idea of, you know, the song, like our song, whatever, but I just... For the narrator character to take such drastic actions because of a spooky Super Mario ROM that his friend from the beginning... What was the friend's name? Let me scroll back up. It says here that the friend was... What was it? Todd? Something like that. It was Todd or Tom or something along those lines. The fact that the game knew their name, there was no like real I suppose the game could have been haunted, but like if it's not haunted, but like it might not have been. The story never. It wasn't really clear if it was actually haunted. And if it wasn't haunted, that means that this guy, Todd, made his friend a spooky Super Mario Brothers mod, only to find out that this absolutely drastic thing happened. So I suspect that the person who reported the blog to the college campus authorities to try to get Bradley some help was probably the Todd guy. You know, seeing the things his friends posting about the spooky game that he linked him. Well, yeah. Hopefully whatever I decide to read next is like a lot better, but you know, good and bad. Sometimes I suppose reading something bad will have me appreciate the more good things I've read and will read. Thank you for putting yourself through this alongside me. Goodbye.